All right, today on the Small Business Hustle, we are going to be talking about small business and how it builds community. We're going to dive into a few of the topics of why it's so important to support your small businesses, especially in small town America. Welcome to the Small Business Hustle. And hello, I'm Molly B, your host and owner of MJ's Market, a small general store in South Dakota. This is a weekly podcast where we discuss operating a small business. All right, today, before we talk about small business and building community, we are going to have a quote. I know it surprised you all. All right, minds are like parachutes. They only work if they are open. James Dewar. Love that quote. Love it. All right, so let's talk about small business. So according to the U.S. Small Business Administration, for every $100 you spend in a small business, $48 stays in your community. But if you spend that same $100 at a big box or national retailer, only $14 stays in the community. Wow. That's over 3 times more staying in the community if you shop small. So why is this? Who cares? And so what? Let's dive right into this. All right. So the why: local businesses tend to rely on other local businesses for supplies and operation. All right. So what that means is if I need paper, I need printing supplies, I need services like computer services, I need maybe cups for drinks, ink, cleaning supplies, all of those kinds of things, I'm more likely to rely on another local business, likely a small business, in my community. And so I'm going to be recycling that money that I have received back into the same community. So if a big box or a national retailer needs things like that, say the paper, the printing, any of those types of things, they are going to source them centrally and then disperse them out to their locations. So they're going to have maybe a warehouse and they're going to source local to that warehouse and then just ship those supplies in. So they don't even have any opportunity to do business with local places. And for the most part, you'll find this true. There are some companies that make it a little bit more of a point to do local business in their community. But for the most part, in the scheme of things, these businesses do not do that. Most of these larger businesses are going to be shipping things to their stores on a regular basis. And in that shipment, they're going to include those kinds of supplies. Okay, another reason about small business support is that small business creates more job diversity. So you're going to have a healthier business community if you have more job diversity. Have you ever heard of the phrase, don't put all your eggs in one basket? At least I hope you have. So the idea is that if you just have a few large businesses, now all of a sudden you're putting your whole community's economy at risk if you don't have healthy small businesses in the area. If you have a large number of people working for one place and now all of a sudden there's a shift, and that shift could be so many different things. It doesn't even have to mean that the business isn't strong anymore. They could just be shifting their operations. Maybe they no longer need the labor that is driving this portion of their business, and they might pull out of the community. They might still be a perfectly fine and perfectly healthy business, but no longer are they going to need the services of labor that your small community is providing. And so now all of a sudden you have a huge hole and all these people without jobs. It could really hurt your local economy. But the more job diversity and the more small businesses that are healthy in the area, the more that they can kind of absorb those employees into their operations and make that blow a little less painful. Maybe the business is struggling. Maybe there's a shift in the economy. We could have a pandemic that totally shuts down their business operations. And now all of a sudden, the whole community is going to be impacted even more so than if we had a little bit more of that diversity within in our business community. Okay, so who relies on small businesses? Well, let's think about this a little bit. So obviously their customers do, but outside of their customers, who relies on them? So my question is will a big box store donate to prom parties, little league, 4-H clubs, math and science clubs, yearbook? So for the most part, the answer is no, absolutely not. They're going to do something big and splashy that they can get a lot more exposure for. And when you talk about a small business and their marketing, if you were to say, all of your target audience is getting together at a little league field and they're going to be watching this game, do you want to put a banner up where your entire target audience is going to be captive while they're watching this game? The small business is going to jump up and down and say, heck yeah, I will give you money to do that. And now all of a sudden that can help fund things for that little league. If we look at it in another way, a big business doesn't need or desire to do that kind of advertising. They're probably not going to have those types of decisions made locally anyways. They're going to have a national marketing campaign and they could care less about your little league team. And I don't want to put them down in their marketing efforts to do a lot of really great things for our country, but we really need to think about the balance that we're creating when we're shopping. So if you have less small businesses, you're going to actually have more costs for some of those local activities. And the reason for this is that if you have less small businesses or they're not as healthy, they no longer have as big of a charity budget or a marketing budget. And now when you want to do those activities, there's a lot of reasons why people say that they don't shop at a small business. And some of them are completely valid. But there is the idea that, well, I'm going to save a quarter if I go to this big box store. And so now all of a sudden that quarter you saved, you need that so that you can fund your child's activities, because there is not going to be the money circulating back into those little league activities or, 4-H clubs or whatever, because the small business didn't get that extra quarter from you. And they're going to be putting more of that money back into the local economy. And so now all of those things and those experiences you want your family and your community to have now are going to cost each individual more, as opposed to having a lot of sponsors that could actually take care of those activities for you. So many community events are sponsored by local small businesses. In our community, we have an Easter egg hunt. We have a Halloween parade. Also, even just like talking about the 4th of July parade that we have, not even in sponsorship, but in participation. I think everyone as a child can remember going to a parade and getting candy. It's just such a fun event. And now all of a sudden, if you don't have those in your hometown, you're depriving those children of those wonderful memories. And that participation, you'll find a lot of participation from small businesses. Granted, there's also groups and organizations participating in those, but how much smaller would it be without that other participation? Plus, they're super generous with their candy. So let's just keep that in mind. All right. So with all of this, how can we support small business? All right. Obviously, go there, buy their products. That's obvious. But I want to talk about the less obvious things, the things that we can maybe do to help them, even when we're not talking about dollars and financial support. All right. So, when you're at the business, talk to them, give appropriate feedback, so you can go in, you can shop around, get to know them. You might learn something, and it could be a really amazing fun fact, or it could just be an enjoyable visit for the day. So when you do that, you kind of get a little bit more committed to this person that you've met in that business. And now all of a sudden, you can boost their social media reach and their free social media reach. So not their sponsored post. I want you to go add comments or share posts that they have that is free for them. Okay. Because social media, they're advertising platforms. All of them are advertising platforms. They want your attention. And so if you want to tell them that this small business deserves my attention, you're going to do that by telling the algorithm that you pay attention to this. If you add a comment, if you share it, sometimes like liking or giving a heart or whatever, those are helpful, but it's more helpful when you comment it or you share it, even if you don't feel like you have a very large audience, maybe, you don't have a lot of friends who are going to be looking at that, you're still cueing in to the algorithm. This is something that I think is important and I think people should see this. And so now the algorithm is going to show it to more people without having to pay for that exposure. So that attention now can be given for free. Other ways you can do that is reviews. So jump on Google, jump on Yelp, something like that. You can, I believe Facebook, it's considered a recommend, and so going on there and just interacting. If you picked one business each week and started doing this, it could be like your fun thing that you do every Friday. You just go and you give a shout out to a local business. Think of the impact you'd have after 52 of those. Could you think of 52 businesses that you've given that kind of support to in the last year? And it would just, what an uplifting thing for you to realize that for free, for nothing, you have helped support your local community, small business, and given that kind of a bump. All right. The other thing you can do is to think of them first. So whenever you're in a business, so I'll just go to my small business. I'll have somebody come in and they'll say, well, do you sell a widget? And it's like, I'm not going to be selling widgets anytime soon. This is not my target item. But I happen to know of a small business and a big business in town. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to contact that small business and I'm going to say to the customer, hey, do you have a second? I'll call these guys and find out if they have the widgets. I call them up. I say, hey, you got any widgets? They say, yep. I send the customer now to this small business. So the point is that I am sending them and directing them to a small business. Otherwise, they might have went to that big business. So I'm helping them spend their dollars small. And in exchange, I'm helping the health of my community. So same thing, if you're in any kind of in an atmosphere where you might be referring people somewhere, or maybe people are asking you for something, instead of sending them to another big business, send them to a small business. For me, it's okay, even if I am not getting their money, because people are going to remember how you made them feel before they remember anything else. And if they feel like I took care of them, they're going to think of me first in the future too. So grab the phone and collaborate. I love to connect and I love to collaborate. All right. So to trail up this topic, we're going to talk a little bit about sales tax. So 38 states have a local sales tax. So if you are in one of the states that doesn't have a local sales tax, I feel like this will be an interesting topic for you, just realizing how this is in the majority of the United States, this is the case. And what resources do you have in your local area which you don't need this local sales tax? Okay, so where I live, we do have a local sales tax. And so that local sales tax obviously there's the state sales tax, and then there's a local sales tax that goes to our community. And so we are in a small town that's only about 10, 11 miles from a larger town, which is still a small town in terms of the definition of a small town. But to us, it's pretty big because it's like twice the size of our town. Now that town is in a different county. And so not only does any tax dollars spent there go to that community, but also it's not even within our county. At least you can say, well, if we're lifting up our own county or our own community, things like that. Okay, so I never want to encourage people to be small-minded. That is definitely not where I'm at. I just want people to be aware of their choices and that they are essentially voting with their dollars. So there are people who don't think this through, and they will shop in the other community, and then they will complain that services are not available in our community that are available in this other community. And they will say things like, why can't we have this wonderful thing that the other town has? Well, there's a pretty easy answer in the fact that you put all of your tax dollars in that town. So if you can't afford to live in that town, then you need to drive over there and enjoy those things, because that's the town you're voting for with those sales tax dollars. You are saying, I want great things in this town, but yet the town is too expensive for you to live. So you're going to have to drive to go get those services, because that's really what the difference is if there is more money being kept locally, there are more things that your small town can do with that. And if you can do more things with that, you can have a much better town services and offerings because of those tax dollars. So again, it isn't about all or nothing. It's about a balance. And how can we balance that so that we're getting the services that we want in our community, but we're still getting to shop the places we want? And I think that opening your mind up to the possibility that there are good options out there in your community might make you realize, man, I don't actually have to drive for this, and I'm going to spend less time. My time is crazy valuable. I do not want to be driving all over the countryside trying to find something. And then you're going to save gas. You're going to save wear and tear on your vehicle. If we're, being completely honest, like in our area, there is not a lot of public transportation. So, I mean, you pretty much have to have a car to get somewhere. There's just not those options. And so if we're not being small-minded and we're saying, where's the shortest distance I can go from my home to get this thing? Now all of a sudden I'm going to be benefiting my sales tax dollars. And every area is going to have different things about what their sales tax dollars goes to. I didn't want to get into that, whether it's you're talking about property tax goes to the schools or sales tax going into fund city services, all of that. It still all makes a difference if you're supporting and lifting up your own community. You're going to see that come back to you. So just, again, kind of think before you vote with your dollars about how am I supporting and how am I doing this? I think it would be shocking for most people to actually quantify how many dollars that sales tax dollars add up to in their community over the course of a month and also a year, and the type of money that has going into the community. And what if you did one less trip a week? How is that sales tax dollar? And then what if everybody in your neighborhood did one less trip a week leaving the community, and you kept one trip more a week locally in the community? What kind of an impact would you have on your community? And what kind of an impact could you have then on those services and those other things available? So, all right. Thank you so much for joining me, where we talked about how small business is going to help build community. I appreciate you so much, and let's go out and spread some positivity today. Thank you for joining me this week on the Small Business Hustle. I would love to hear your feedback so I can better serve you. And don't forget to subscribe so you can catch me next week, where we'll continue to talk about small business. If you found value in this podcast, you can show your support by sharing our podcast with your audience and your friends. We appreciate you, and please spread some positivity today. I promise it will do you wonders.